Good afternoon and welcome everyone. My name is Tamara Belliard Rodriguez and I am pleased to serve as the moderator for today's important discussion, Haiti, security situation, options and issues. As someone deeply involved in media, community engagement, and policy discourse around the Haitian diaspora, I understand how vital conversations like this are, particularly at a time when Haiti is facing such critical challenges. I also serve as an adjunct professor here at Florida International University, which makes today's discussion especially meaningful to me. It is only fitting that this discussion is being hosted by Florida International University, a global institution that consistently fosters open dialogue, especially around complex and often difficult policy matters. FIU has long been a hub for research and exchange on the Caribbean and Latin America. And we thank them, as well as Pay Cargo, the Latin American and Caribbean Center, also known as LAC, the Green School, and the Jack Gordon Institute for Public Policy for making this webinar possible. We're here today to examine the current security landscape in Haiti and explore viable paths forward, particularly with the new US administration. Our conversation will address what options are on the table, and more importantly, what opportunities exist to help restore civic life, promote social justice, and lay the groundwork for long-term prosperity. Now, I have the privilege of introducing our panelists. First, Dr. Eduardo Gamera, Senior Professor of Political Science here at FIU and former Director of LAC. Dr. Gamera is a respected scholar and political analyst. He brings a wealth of expertise on Latin American politics, government, and US foreign policy. Next, Ambassador Robert Gelbard, a former US diplomat with decades of experience in international security and development. He has served in numerous senior roles, including as a US ambassador. He brings a deep understanding of the diplomatic frameworks that shape foreign engagement. Last but not least, we have Monsieur Gédéon Jean, Executive Director of the Centre d'Analyse et de Recherche en Droits de l'Homme. He is a leading voice in human rights and justice in Haiti, providing critical insight into the civic, legal, and social dimensions of the crisis. Thank you all for joining us. We look forward to a robust and enlightening exchange. Let's begin. Dr. Gamera, we'll start with you.
Thank you very much, Tamara, for that generous introduction. It's a real privilege to be on this panel with Dr. Rosenberg, with yourself, with Ambassador Gelbard, and with Gédéon, whom we've had the privilege to meet last year. I'm delighted that we could put this panel together, and I'm delighted to have the opportunity to share some of our thinking related to the complicated issues facing Haiti. Let me begin simply by sort of titling my talk "Haiti at the Brink," and I think it's important to just simply say that Haiti today stands on the edge of what most analysts agree is total state collapse. There are no elected officials, no functioning parliament, no legitimate executive authority, although there is a transitional government there. Armed gangs now control, depending on who you listen to, but about 85% of Port-au-Prince. And the government, such as it exists, lacks the capacity and the resources to reclaim control. We know from recent data that came out of the UN that in 2024 alone, over 5,600 Haitians were killed, nearly 1,500 kidnapped. We know that gangs carry out massacres, mass rapes, attacks on churches, often with military-grade weapons and with an awful lot of impunity. So the human toll in Haiti is staggering. Uh, citing the recent report of the UN, about 1.3 million Haitians have been displaced, over 6 million require humanitarian assistance, and nearly 3 million children are facing food insecurity. Suffice it to say that in that context, essential services, health, education, justice have completely collapsed. So the situation, already dire, now threatens to explode beyond Haiti's borders. There's growing tension along the border with the Dominican Republic, where fears of uncontrolled migration and violence are rising, and of course, a controversial Dominican response. Meanwhile, from the perspective of the United States, the prospect of mass deportations was increased, in fact, just in the last few hours, when the United States not only announced the end of temporary protective status, but announced that the mass deportation of Haitians, is in the best interests of the United States. And this is occurring at a time when Haiti cannot absorb more displacement because it simply would add another layer of volatility. So having said that, as well, we have an international response which has been slow, fragmented, politicized, and frankly unacceptable. Kenya's effort to lead a multinational police force authorized by the UN is on the ground, but in some measure stalled. There are only 416 officers there of the 2,500 promised. The mission lacks the funding. They don't have the necessary equipment. And now they even face political headwinds at home in Kenya. In Haiti, of course, the expectations have not about the Kenyans have not been met, and frankly, it's almost ridiculous to say that patience is wearing thin, right? In this context, then, four options have emerged, and I will lay them out, and I will say that all four are under active consideration in one way or another. The first one, which is already taking place, are private security solutions. Haiti's transitional government has contracted two private firms to deploy surveillance drones against gangs. This is a stopgap, not a strategy. Without ground security and rule of law, drones alone will never be able to reassert state control. So the second option is a revived role for the OAS. And this was first put out by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who called in May on the OAS to mount a regional intervention, invoking the 1965 Dominican Republic precedent. Ambassador Landau, just last week, also talked about an enhanced OAS role for Haiti, almost challenging the very survival of the OAS to the resolution of conflict in Haiti. Now, while this underscores the urgency, the OAS lacks the military infrastructure, and frankly, it also lacks the political unity to go forward. Its effectiveness will depend on whether regional powers, Brazil, Mexico, others, but also CARICOM, would support such a mission, and whether, of course, Haitian leadership itself consents. A third option, which has in some measure been proposed in the past, as far back as the 1990s, and it's one that I have put on the table and believe that it merits some discussion, is the notion of an international protectorate. Now, clearly, there are some civil society voices, including, and some international advisors who are floating the possibility of an UN OAS-backed protectorate. Now, drawing lessons from Kosovo, from East Timor, and Bosnia, such an arrangement would temporarily suspend elements of sovereignty to reestablish order, to rebuild institutions, and lay the foundations for democratic governance. But suffice it to say that such a move is politically fraught. It requires enormous resources. It requires clear benchmarks. And above all, it requires Haitian consent. And so the fourth option might be a hybrid path. And this might be the most realistic solution given discussions that are ongoing at the UN, what's happening in our own in the US government at state, and what's happening at the OAS. What is a hybrid approach? This would be a kind of a robust multinational force under UN auspices with political leadership and legitimacy provided by the OAS and CARICOM. This would combine operational capacity with regional ownership. It could take the form of joint administration, where an international commissioner works alongside Haitian authorities to oversee security, judicial reform, and even elections. In my view, such a model would avoid the symbolic baggage of full protectorate while delivering the depth of engagement required. I'll conclude now saying that, Haiti is trapped, and it's trapped between what some call a failed state and the absence of viable alternatives. In my view, and I have a few years of work in Haiti, this is a very personal opinion, that inaction is no longer tenable. In my view, the international community must act now, not with paternalism, but clearly in partnership with Haitians to break this cycle of collapse and provide a genuine path to recovery. So the choice that we're facing today, not just Haitians, but the hemisphere as a whole, is between sovereignty and survival. And it is how to reconcile both in the service of Haiti's long overdue reconstruction. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gamara. We'll come back to you. There's some follow-up questions, but I want to give a chance to the other panelists to make their opening remarks. So I'm now going to move to Ambassador Gelbard. Ambassador Gelbard, the UN Security Council is meeting today as we speak. We have heard about terms such as Haiti fatigue. We've heard comments like Haiti is not bankable. Set the stage for us. Secretary Rubio has publicly stated that he believes the OAS should play a role in restoring order in Haiti. So again, set the stage. What are your thoughts on all of that?
First, thank you very much for the opportunity to appear on this webinar. I am, as both of you, a great fan and supporter of Florida International University. I co-chair the Green Schools Board, and our daughter is a PhD graduate of Florida International. So I have lectured at the school since the mid-'80s when Dr. Rosenberg was head of the Latin American Center. I have followed the university closely and am a great admirer. Let me say, first of all, that we talk first about some of the things the Trump administration has been saying. And I'll start off by agreeing very much with my longtime friend, Dr. Eduardo Gamara. Inaction is not an option. Haiti is a neighbor of the United States, and as such, the failure to create circumstances where Haiti's situation is stabilized and Haiti is put on a path to democracy and prosperity is unacceptable because it represents a potential security threat for the United States and others in this hemisphere. In that regard, I am, to say disappointed is to put it mildly, by the remarks by Secretary Rubio and Deputy Secretary Landau. I find them to be passive aggressive in their fullest, in the sense that they are trying to shift the responsibility for Haiti onto all others without the United States taking a leadership role, as we should be doing. I have had extensive experience over several decades in dealing with situations that have required interventions of different sorts, several along the lines of what Dr. Gamara described. I was deeply involved in Bosnia and Kosovo as President Clinton's special representative for the Balkans. And I was deeply involved in East Timor after I left the Balkans, when I became ambassador to Indonesia and Timor. But I was also involved in Haiti itself particularly as a person who helped plan and put into action our intervention in Haiti in 1994. And I was also involved in El Salvador and in Somalia. One operation which was successful in El Salvador, working with the UN, and another in Somalia, which clearly was not successful. The first issue has to be stabilization, and it has to be the need to establish circumstances on the ground where there is peace. And I have to say, my fundamental concern about the kind of proposals that the Trump administration has been making involves a lack of US military and law enforcement presence in any significant way. What characterizes the three circumstances, the three interventions that Dr. Gamara described, Bosnia, Kosovo, East Timor, all involved US military in significant ways. And in 1994, with the intervention, the ad hoc intervention that was started by the United States with a coalition of the willing and then turned over to a UN mission, again, the US military and US police helped lead the way. Given the circumstances on the ground in Haiti, I am convinced that it only is the US military which can provide the kind of security and, at the risk of using this word, the kind of respect that the gangs and others will require in order to begin to provide stability and stabilization in Haiti. That means that there's a short-term solution. And then there is a requirement for longer-term institution building that involves development, again, a redevelopment of a strong police force, a justice sector involving the judiciary and other aspects of a justice sector, and of course, economic and social development. The UN, as you said, the UN is meeting today in the Security Council on this, and it would be very surprising to me if Russia and China do anything except oppose the idea of a peacekeeping force of any kind of a serious nature. What is clear, as Professor Gamara described, is that the Kenyan force that is in Haiti right now is inexperienced, undersized, and incapable of dealing with the objective that they're required to face. So this is something I feel the United States is going to have to find a way to deal with, and if it requires congressional action or civil society or international cooperation to convince the United States, I feel that's probably the only way this can happen.
Thank you, Ambassador, for your remarks. Again, I'm going to come back to you after, but we're going to give the opportunity to Monsieur Gideon Jean to make his opening remarks. I will also invite our attendees, if you have questions, please put them in the chat. We will have time to address some questions. Monsieur Gideon Jean has a translator, so I'm going to ask the question in English and give him an opportunity to hear the question in Haitian Creole, and then he will speak in Haitian Creole, and we will hear from his translator. So, Mr. Jean, you have listened to the other two panelists who have offered their opinions on interventions or what could potentially work for Haiti. The Trump administration has recently said, actually just this weekend, Haiti is safe enough to send back 500,000 people. Haiti is safe enough, but we know that the international airport in Port-au-Prince in Haiti's capital, has been closed for most of the year. But the administration feels that Haiti is safe enough. You live in Haiti. What seems viable and what seems impractical based on your lived experiences? What are the priorities for the Haitian people? We'll just remind you also to turn on your mic when you're ready.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity for me to voice my opinion in this session today. Oui, Monsieur Gédéon. I see that these two gentlemen, they really understand the situation we are going through in Haiti. You know, to answer to Mrs. Tamara's what she said, well, the situation in Haiti is worse. Every day, it's worse. And everything we go through now in Haiti, we can call that a structural crisis. That's what I would call it. That's why we are in the situation we are today. Structural crisis.
If I may, excuse me, I would just like to say we do have some Haitian Creole speakers on the webinar. So I think it's okay if Mr. Gideon would like to speak in Creole and then pause. So Miss Edna, you can translate if that's okay. Because we do have Haitian speakers, Haitian Creole speakers that probably would love to hear directly from Mr. Gideon.
Certainly.
Merci. Donc là, nous recevons très bien.
Oui, merci, monsieur.
Parfait. Alors, je m'en parler rapide. Et qui solution que nous devons envisager par rapport à la crise que le pays a gagnée, que tout le monde connaît vraiment la situation sans que nous pas besoin de venir avec des données qui sont disponibles, que tout le monde est capable d'accéder avec eux-mêmes.
Everybody knows about the situation, the crisis we are going through now. So I'm going quickly to talk about that. Oui, Monsieur Gideon.
Solution problème pays d'Haïtien te doit venir de l'extérieur. Autrement dit, acteurs nationaux yo te doit en mesure pour yo porter des éléments de réponse à problème pays.
You know, the solution should come from outside to act and to be in the country to help us.
Malheureusement, le fait que acteurs entendent, surtout les acteurs politiques, donc nous obligés à envisager des solutions qui viennent de l'extérieur.
You know, unfortunately, we have to look at solution from the exterior. Oui.
Et si nous tenons compte de enjeux géopolitiques qui gagnent kounya là, que ce soit au plan national ou encore au plan régional, et que limite qui gagnent au niveau de l'Organisation des États américains, donc nous devons penser à une solution qui est très, très pratique.
Madame Edna, if you want to remove your mute, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm lost. Sorry.
Ok, Monsieur Jean, sou ka répéter ça dit?
OK. On dit que si nous regardons enjeux géopolitiques internationaux et nationaux, internationaux et régionaux, ajouter à ça, problème qui gagne au niveau de l'OEA, donc il faut que nous envisager des options, des solutions pratiques.
Ms. Edna, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. If we look at the problem, geopolitical, on the national and regional, and the problem, so we need help from outside, from the organization
OAS,
of
yeah.
OAS. We need help from them. The help has to come. The solution has to come from there.
Donc, solution pratique très concrète que nous avons envisagé d'abord, nous pensons qu'il faut gagner un pays ou bien un groupe de pays, ça c'est la réalité, capable de 2 ou 3 pays qui prend en charge le dossier Haïti en termes de leadership, mais surtout qui identifie moyens financiers que nous avons besoin pour quelle que soit la solution que nous envisageons.
Miss Tamara, the
Yes.
sentence is very long.
Okay.
I need.
Ma prisonnière rapide.
Monsieur Gédéon, I'm sorry.
Non, sans problème. Première condition qui doit établir, il faut gagner un pays ou bien plusieurs pays selon.
The first condition to establish, we need one country or several countries
Qui prend en charge le dossier Haïti
in charge of Haiti
et qui identifie d'abord moyens financiers que nous avons besoin
to identify in the first place the financial means that we will need
pour quelle que soit la solution que nous avons envisagée.
for any solution that we are thinking about.
Et pour que ça me partie de prémisse ça, pour que ça me partie de ça d'abord,
Why do I start by saying that in the first place? Oui?
parce que souvent mission qu'on vient établir en Haïti, que ce soit notamment par le Conseil de sécurité, mais sur le terrain, il y a un problème de financement qui pose.
You know, and because when the missions come to Haiti, there are financial problems that they face. Oui?
Et actuelle mission multinationale qui est en Haïti, des problèmes posés, donc pas de financement pour lui.
You know, there is no financing for the multi-missions that is now in Haiti.
Deuxième bagage que nous avons besoin dans Haïti, qui est fondamental,
The second thing we need in Haiti that would be fundamental,
nous avons besoin d'un plan d'action global de sécurité
we need a global plan of action for security,
de lutte contre la criminalité transnationale
and we have to fight criminality all over the nation.
et un plan de gouvernance politique
And a plan to govern politics, oui? Political governance.
Qui permettent l'émergence de nouveaux acteurs politiques préparés.
Nouveau acteur politique, what? I'm sorry, Monsieur Jean.
Un nouveau plan de gouvernance politique permet que un acteur qui vient de monter sur cette
a new governmental plan so that we have new actors in politics. Oui?
Yes, yes. Et justement, et sous appel secrétaire d'État américain Marco Rubio te fait,
the Secretary Marco Rubio, what he said.
Donc, dans le paragraphe 13, nouvelle résolution que l'OEA a adoptée 27 juin, moi ça.
Paragraph 13 that OEA adopted this month.
Donc, ils répondent avec appel secrétaire d'État Marco Rubio.
It answers what the Secretary Marco Rubio said in paragraph 13.
La résolution, ça, Assemblée générale OEA dit dans 45 jours, l'obtenir un plan global.
In 45 days, OEA will have a global answer.
OK, donc plan global de sécurité, ça, l'a fait entre gouvernement haïtien, BINU, qui c'est Nations Unies en Haïti, et mission multinationale qui est en Haïti.
You know, and that plan for security is global between Haiti, United Nations, Nations Unies, Haïti, et qui l'autre pays, qui l'autre côté?
Nations Unies qui est en Haïti, il est BINU, BINU, Bureau,
BINU,
Bureau Nations
United
Unies en Haïti.
Nations in Haiti.
OK? Donc, c'est un premier démarche qui permet que de gagner une idée claire de qui côté nous voulons aller en termes d'action.
It's the first step so that we have a clear idea how we want to proceed from now on.
Maintenant, en termes d'opération, quel est en termes d'opération, pour nous mettre le plan d'action ça sur pied, qui méthode
order
mission que
for
nous
it.
devons appliquer?
Pardon?
Pour nous mettre le plan d'action ça sur pied, que l'OEA prévoit, quel type de mission que nous devons en Haïti?
Well, what type of mission should we have in Haiti if we put that plan of action on? Oui, continuez, s'il vous plaît.
Moi d'accord avec l'approche ambassadeur qui pensait que faut que tu gagné une intervention militaire américaine qui venait souterrain en Haïti.
I agree with the ambassador when he said that we would need in Haiti a military intervention.
Mais
In the country.
malheureusement, jusqu'à présent, c'est pas ça que l'administration Trump en voulait.
Unfortunately, the Trump administration, up to now, that's not what it wants.
Donc, on y a nous-mêmes, nous obligés de penser à des solutions très pratiques.
So now we have to think about practical solutions.
Donc, de fait, nous gagnons mission multinationale là qui est déjà en Haïti et qui était autorisée par les Nations Unies.
We have authorized by United Nations. We have a mission international in Haiti already. Oui.
Donc, comme l'administration de Trump est très réticente pour les déployer militaires américains en Haïti, donc ça va évident.
You know, since the Trump administration is very reticent to put military in Haiti, oui.
Donc, l'idéal serait de renforcer le mandat que mission qui en Haïti en gagne.
The solution would be to reinforce the mandate that the mission that is already in Haiti has.
Et d'autant que résolution qui te mette mission ça en Haïti, les balles mandat pour mener opération avec la police.
You know, that the mandate that put that mission in Haiti authorized them to work with the police.
Deuxième aspect renforcement de Guinladal, c'est l'autre leadership qui est dans cette mission multinationale qui est en Haïti.
Second aspect of that would be to have a different leadership at the head of the mission that is already in Haiti.
Et qui va gagner pour mission pour appliquer plan d'action global, ça très clair, très précis en matière de sécurité.
That mission would have to apply the global agreement, very clear, very good for Haiti, for security.
Et maintenant, moyens logistiques et moyens financiers, j'aime dire c'est le premier point pour que déjà
logistically, we already identify the logistic of this way of thinking.
Cependant,
but
quelle que soit l'action qu'a posée dans la crise haïtienne, non, pour que
whatever action we take for the Haitian crisis,
pour que viser renforcer force nationale de sécurité que nous gagnons.
We need to reinforce the security that we have in Haiti.
Parce que toute intervention qui est faite par le passé, intervention qui fait avant,
All the intervention in the past, before, all the intervention we had,
yo pas renforcé force nationale de sécurité.
they have not reinforced the national security, force of security.
Donc, le force multinationale ou bien internationale là, qui était pays, qui était Haïti,
So when the multinational and national forces, when they leave Haiti,
situation vient plus mal, devient aggrave.
the situation is worse. It
Et
collapses.
c'est exactement ça nous avons aujourd'hui. Là, Jean premier intervenant, professeur, te dit.
It's exactly what we have today, the way the people who intervened before left us.
Monsieur Jean, thank you so much. I'm gonna stop you there if that's okay, because we're getting a lot of questions from the attendees. So thank you for that. I'm going to ask Dr. Gamera as a follow-up to what Monsieur Jean is saying. Do you, Dr. Gamera, based on all of your research, your decades of research, is there a precedence of a nation that has experienced extreme civil unrest, fragmentation, that has then become a more orderly society? Do you have any examples that are similar to what Haiti is experiencing today? You are on mute, Dr. Gamera. Dr. Gamera, you're on mute, and Monsieur Jean, if you can mute your audio.
One second. There we go.
Yes.
My apologies. It's a little confusing. Well, there are examples that, in fact, Ambassador Gelbart addressed, and the complexities that of taking nations that were, in fact, in internecine civil wars, that then, if you look at them today, with a few exceptions, have been quite successful, as a matter of fact. We can also see some very concrete examples in Latin America, particularly the Central American wars of the 1980s, of course, which ended up with not only with a UN presence, but also a very significant Latin American role and a very significant American role, United States role, I should say. El Salvador is a case in point, right, of extreme conflict in the 1980s, and today, of course, El Salvador, for other reasons, has become kind of an example in the region. Not necessarily one that I agree with, but it has become an example. Guatemala, at the same time, right, went through a major civil war, significant UN participation, a peace process, and then, of course, really now about 40 years of a problematic democracy, but a democracy nonetheless, right? And then, of course, there's the ambiguous results of the Colombian peace plan, right? That was initiated in around 2013, 2014, which has had very ambiguous results, right? So it's not something, and this I think that Mr. Jean addressed. I mean, this is in some way this isn't something that you're going to be able to go in and resolve overnight. This is a process. In every one of these countries, it's been a process. And at times there are even reversals, right? But in my view, at least, Haiti sort of has all of the characteristics of a situation where, again, as Mr. Jean said, cannot be resolved at this point simply by internal forces, right? And so, if there's something that I take away from Mr. Jean's statement, I think it's a very significant statement that the situation in Haiti has reached that position where it on its own cannot resolve the situation.
Thank you, Dr. Gamera. Ambassador Gilbert, I'm gonna direct the next question from the audience to you. I'm not sure if you could see the question, but for the interest of the participants, I'm going to read part of the question. The Trump administration's policy initiatives towards Haiti appear extremely contradictory. On the one hand, it seeks a regional or international intervention. On the other, it seeks to push out almost 1 million Haitians temporarily enjoying safe haven in the US and contributing. This at a time when Haiti needs all the resources it can get from abroad. So how can we in the US argue for a more strategic approach? And is there a way to get this administration, which is dead set on a harsh deportation policy, to reconsider? Ambassador Gilbert.
Thank you. First, I was stunned by the Trump administration's initial position on Haiti and its, as I said, passive aggressive, almost non-interventionist attitude at a time when there was significant instability and no likely better outcome for the future. But now, if anything, their positions have worsened through the contradictory statements made by Homeland Security on the one hand and Deputy Secretary Landau on the other, who said there's chaos in Haiti when Homeland Security said the situation is peaceful enough to return 500,000 people. That idea of returning these people will only dramatically exacerbate the situation. The situation will worsen seriously and I think create even greater instability and greater violence and greater poverty, if that's possible. I really believe that the answer has got to be to deal with Congress, to deal with, I mean, the Florida delegation is mostly Republican, but I think Republican senators need to understand that this is a problem which affects their state, affects their constituents, and affects both their security and the country's national security. But I've certainly been talking to members of Congress myself, people who are both on foreign affairs committees and armed services committees and elsewhere. And it's important to get civil society involved in a much more serious way. I think there is a degree of Haiti fatigue, but we need to get beyond that because this is a serious problem which is only going to get worse if it's left alone.
Thank you, Ambassador Gilbert. Monsieur Jean, I'm going to go to you with this question, which I think it's important for someone of Haitian descent to answer. The question is available here to the panelists, but again, I'm not sure if everybody else can see it, so I'm going to read it. With receiving aid from other countries, we are also risking loss of sovereignty and independence as a nation. When getting aid from foreign nations, we do not know what interests they may truly have. While the governing body is too weak, the Haitian diaspora is a large and significant force that can be an instrumental force in providing aid to our country. A military intervention, depending on the country, has the possibility of long-term occupation, which can lead to loss of independence. Foreign aid can be received via military support, training, but the majority of the work has to be handled by Haitian militias and military that has been trained more adequately in order to fight back against the gangs. Mr. Jean, you previously mentioned that, in your opinion, there needs to be an intervention. How do you answer the question about the loss of independence and the long-term repercussions should that happen? Friends, okay.
Oh, one intervention doesn't mean that you are going to lose sovereignty. You know, some countries who get military help do not lose their sovereignty because they have military help. We're starting with the global security plan of security. The local authorities will tell you in what measure they need help for their security. There is one essential thing that I said, no matter which action, with what you do from now on, first you have to reinforce national security that we have already going on now. You know, the situation in Haiti only got worse, and you have heard about that, and it has collapsed now. It's only worse. In the name of the sovereignty, a state may request help from another country, another state. And UN is based on cooperation. For example, the Trump administration wants to return 1 million people to Haiti.
I just want to clarify, it's close to 1 million. It's not 1 million. Just want to clarify.
You know, and if you send the people, they're close to 1 million, you send them to Haiti, and with the situation we have now, with all the gang taking over the streets, well, you know, the Haitian government, the state has to give security to Haiti. Now, there is no way Haiti can have security with the forces that we have.
Okay, thank you. One last, if you want to wrap up what he just said.
Yeah. Madame Del.
Oh. Okay, so I'll come back to Mr. Jean because we only have a few more minutes left. Dr. Gamera, you mentioned countries in Central and South America that could be examined, right? When we talk about the situation in Haiti. One of the questions from the audience is, what is the danger that if nothing is done, there could be a desperate, massive Haitian exodus to the Dominican Republic and a military response from the Dominican military?
Well, if you just look into Dominican media on any given day, the situation in the Dominican Republic has already reached levels where the public perception is extraordinarily negative and supports a very strong action on the part of the government. The border has already been militarized. There are underway plans to deport massively Haitians. And of course, there's also not just I would say a wave of xenophobia, but there's also concrete policies there that the Dominican government pursuing, including not allowing across the border to use, for example, health facilities, right, within that country. Now, a few weeks ago, about 3 weeks ago, President Abinader convoked the past presidents. He brought Hipólito Mejía, Leonel Fernandez, and Danilo Medina together. And so then there's now an approach, a concerted approach by the government and the opposition that's looking very specifically at this. And of course, they are demanding international action. They have also defined, like the United States, they have defined the Haitian gangs that are present in the Dominican Republic. I just wrote a report on the Dominican Republic a couple of weeks ago with a colleague, Doug Farah, which is published by the Gordon Institute, right? But the Dominican government has already classified those Haitian gangs as terrorist organizations. So the Dominican government has been trying to press the OAS into action. The ambassador there, Robert Alvarez, has been pushing them, and has established a close working relationship with the State Department. Now, can that translate into something? But I think the presence, as Mr. Jean said, and as you suggested, Tamara, the reality is that if indeed there is mass deportation of Haitians in the United States, to the current scenario, the only place that they can go is to the Dominican Republic, right? And so that will only exacerbate tensions with the DR. Can it lead to an armed conflict? Well, I would hope not, but certainly the tensions have already reached such levels that it's an extraordinary situation.
Thank you, Dr. Gamera. We only have a few more minutes. I feel like this conversation could go on for another hour. I do want to be respectful of everybody's time. So I do want to ask each of you to say, last remarks. Please keep it, 1 to 2 minutes so that we can end the webinar at 3. I'll start with you, Ambassador Gelbart. If you just want to wrap it up and give your final closing remarks to the situation in Haiti, the instability, the path forward. There's a question about the transitional government. We didn't get to talk about the transition government currently in Haiti. So please offer your last remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me say that in addition to the examples that Professor Gamara mentioned of successful peacekeeping operations, there are others that he had referred to originally. I mean, East Timor has been extremely successful. Kosovo and Bosnia, while not fully successful, accomplished their goals of ending violence. And Kosovo is certainly moving ahead in a very positive direction. Bosnia is negotiating with the EU on eventual membership, although it's going to take some time. I think, again, as Monsieur Jean has said, this is a time when outside intervention is something that the population clearly is in need of. Not all the population wants it, but I'm sure a significant segment does. And I think this requires a response on the part of the international community to establish peace and stability, as I said, in the first instance, because that's always a prerequisite to any kind of other development. And then the building of the kind of institutions, both democratic institutions and economic and social institutions, which have either not been adequately built before or have crumbled a bit. This requires an all-hands effort on the part of the international community, including the Inter-American Development Bank, the World Bank, the IMF. It does require the UN, and it requires UN leadership as well as OAS leadership. And I think it's important that the new Secretary General of the OAS has been willing to be responsive on this in this instance. But again, and excuse me for repeating this, the United States is going to have to play a much more significant role and not just be passive aggressive about this.
Thank you, Ambassador. Dr. Gamero, 1 to 2 minute final remarks.
Let me address just one very, very quick thing, and that has to do with the OAS declaration. And while I think it is positive, as Mr. Jean said, and as Ambassador Gelbart just addressed, the thing that concerns me is that it essentially punts the ball forward 45 days. It is essentially telling the international community, the hemispheric community, to come up with a security plan, to come up with a government plan, to come up with a humanitarian package, and so on, to try to restore order, to facilitate humanitarian aid delivery, etc., and to establish the conditions for free and fair elections. My concern is that this is simply more of the same, that in 45 days, we're going to be right back at this discussion. And again, this is sort of an abdication as well of American leadership. The American position that if the OAS doesn't take the leadership, the U.S. will even threaten to take away funding from the OAS is not a solution, especially in the context of the U.S. not wanting to take a leadership in this. In the meantime, Haiti will continue to get worse. And so the kinds of doomsday scenarios that some of the question askers posed might become more of a reality within 45 days.
Thank you, Dr. Gamera. Monsieur Jean, you have the final word, final remarks. I ask you to please keep it within a minute if possible. Thank you.
Just like Dr. Gamera said, the situation is worse. We need a solution, very practical, to save the Haitians. Otherwise, almost 1 million people that the Trump administration is going to send back to Haiti will make the situation even much worse than it is now. I encourage FIU to have another conference so that we can again look at the situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jean. I agree. I think that we should continue to have these types of conversation, open conversations. Not everything we hear is positive. We don't, particularly us Americans of Haitian descent, there's a lot of that we're hearing that is not pleasing. Perhaps the next conversation is how the diaspora can get involved to try to influence policy, put some pressure, and work with both sides of the aisle to keep Haiti top of mind. I would like to thank all of you, the panelists, and also everyone that attended this webinar. We hope to do it again. Thank you on behalf of FIU, and again, all the sponsors. We thank you. Have a good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you. Great. Thank you.